going to get going in just a minute. We're going to be talking about making videos in that full process. So just hang on a second. We'll be with you. My name is Matt Pierce. We've got a great topic we're going to be talking about. Of course, I am monitoring the chat today. And don't forget, level up every day. Hey everybody, my name is Matt Pierce. I'm the Learning and Video Ambassador for TechSmith. Hopefully you're able to see this on both YouTube and Facebook. So just heads up, we're trying some stuff out today. We want to make sure we can go to both platforms effectively so we can bring you great guests and have great conversations in both places. So feel free though, if you got questions, you got things you want to ask about as we go through our session today, make sure you put them in the chat wherever that is for you, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. We're going to be able to monitor both of those and respond in a way that hopefully makes sense. And I'll take your questions throughout. We've got a really great topic today. Of course, we're going to be talking about making video because that's what we do a lot here on our TechSmith YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about kind of some workflow stuff. So especially if you're new to making video, this is going to be a good one for you. If you've made lots of videos, you've got a workflow that works for you, maybe not the video to stick around for. Maybe, watch it on 2x speed later. But if you're new, trying to figure out each of the steps you're going to take to make your video. We'll talk about kind of that pre-production. We'll talk about some production stuff. And then, of course, post-production, what you do with it. So feel free to check that out. Of course, one of the things I like to do is if that is something you're really interested in learning more about, make sure you check out the TechSmith Academy. I got the link right there, techsmith.com/academy. It's a free online learning platform from us. And we've created a bunch of videos, a bunch of tutorials, a number of different things for you to check in and see, about script writing, storyboarding, using some lighting, getting good quality audio in whatever environment you might be in. We got some interviews and we're adding these content, so the content from our live stream in a course there, so you can go and check out those as well if you don't want to hang around on YouTube for some reason. So definitely check those out. And again, let me just remind you that I'm checking things out today. We've got the streams and I'm going to test this out. So you should see this in Facebook and YouTube. If I put a comment here, if I can type and talk at the same time. So you can see that it hopefully goes to both places. So anyway, let's get into our content today. And hopefully you guys are able to take advantage of all the cool stuff we're going to talk about. So first things first, why video, right? Like, if you're here, you probably have a good reason for video, but not everyone knows why they'd use video. So if you're working in a business or an organization and you're saying like, I'm not sure about video, let's talk about that for a second. I think one of the key things to be thinking about with why video is the benefits of what video brings versus images, text, or other mediums. And it doesn't mean you have to use just video or just those other things. You can use them purposefully and with the right reason. So as you're thinking about why video, think about what video is good at. It provides an auditory signal, things that people can hear. It provides a visual signal, things that they can see. And it also provides motion, right? Like you could just do a podcast of audio, or you could just do a picture, things that you can see. But when you bring those together, it's a unique combination. Now, there's definitely cost to this. There's definitely challenges with using video. But what I think we can really think about is like, what are the benefits of being able to see that motion, the movement, the change, hear it described to you in a way that's going to hopefully help you understand it more fully. That's a really powerful combination. So this is why I think a lot of people in the training and development field are looking at using video or something like video, because you can see it, you're bringing all those pieces together, and that creates a better understanding. Shoot, I think that's one of the reasons why YouTube is so successful, not just as an entertainment platform, but as an educational platform, because it's allowing you to see stuff that you couldn't see, and it's allowing you to see someone, I think about a lot of kind of handyman stuff, working at home, fixing things. I never knew how to do certain things, but now I can look at someone else's example and see what they're doing. And I think it's really, really powerful. And, it's a great way to connect with people too. You can see their eyes, you can see what they're doing. So you can also think about that from a perspective of, just connecting with your audience. Video is a great medium to do that. It's a great way to market. It's a great way to do lots of different things. So as you're creating your whatever you're going to create, think about that. Think about what you're going to use it for. The next thing I think just to focus on is get out there and make something. We want to make sure that, as you're doing video, don't just sit back and learn about the concepts, right? Think about what you can do with it. Think about what can you make today. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a live stream event on 2 platforms. But think about what you can make today and make something quick. So maybe someone's written you an email and they've asked you like, hey, Matt, how do I do this? Maybe instead of writing a really long response, make a quick email or a quick video. Make a video to record a process. Make a video to say, especially, a lot of people are working at home. You're not seeing your colleagues, and we're all tired probably of Zoom and online meetings. But maybe you make a video instead of having a meeting and share with those reports and that kind of those thinking. But get out there and do something. It's the only way you're going to get better at making video. And the next thing is, regardless of where you're at in your video creation process, ask more questions. Ask questions about everything that you wondered about and you need to know. Ask questions about why would you do this? Ask questions about why. Watch a film, watch a television show, and ask, why did they do that? Why did they, go from this scene to this scene? Why did they cut where they cut? Why did they use that music? Why did they get close up into their face? Even we could say as I'm kind of working through the different pieces here, why would it make sense for me to show me on screen versus the slides? Ask more questions. You're going to become a better video creator and you're going to create more effective video as you ask questions about why other people making their videos are doing those things. And then ask yourself, does this make sense to do this? Can I cut this out? Do I need this? Do I want this? Is this helping me convey my message? So keep those things in mind. That's going to really help you. The next thing I'm going to talk about as you're making video is think about the objectives and the outcomes. What are your objectives? What is it that you are trying to achieve here? What is it that you want to happen, right? Or what do you want someone to learn, for instance? A lot of people in the learning and development space will talk about learning objectives. And so in this case, our video objectives, maybe it's to get them to like or subscribe. Maybe it's to get them to go to learn more. Maybe you're getting them to do a download. Maybe you're getting them to do something else. Maybe you're just not even thinking about that. You just want to be helpful. Your objective is to be helpful. Cool. But you need to have an objective. What is it this video is going to do? Because when you start making decisions about what's going to go into that video, that allows you the privilege of taking that stuff and cutting everything out of it that you don't need. Because so instead of having a 30-minute video, maybe you can get it down to 15, or instead of 10, it's 5. You can really start to hone and focus on what is it? Is this piece of the video leading to my objective? Now, outcomes, and these could be interchangeable how you want to talk about them. The verbiage is very similar, but outcomes, you could start thinking about less about what you want to achieve. What is it that your viewer wants as an outcome? Do they want to know how to fix their toilet? Do they want to know how to connect to the internet? Do they want to know how to add a pivot table in Excel and manipulate it in a certain way? Whatever that outcome is, you want to make sure your video is going to help your audience achieve that outcome. You have an objective and they have an outcome. They're trying to do something. In a study by TechSmith, and I talk about these studies a lot because I think they're really important, 2013, 2016, end of 2018, basically seeing the same results here. The main reason people will stop watching videos is it's not relevant to them. As they start watching the video, they start feeling like the video isn't relevant to them. And if it's not relevant to them, why watch it? So you need to make sure that they're going to feel that relevancy and that relevancy and that outcome match up. Now, that might mean you might make a video that isn't relevant to everyone. But that's okay if you know your audience and you know what you're trying to make for them and what they want. That's a very symbiotic relationship. If you can do those both, that would be pretty fantastic. Now, I do see typical kind of live stream stuff. I've got a few streaming errors, it looks like. Hopefully you can still hear me. You're able to still watch and see this. So, hey, Broderick, thank you for walking in today. Hopefully you're enjoying these. Appreciate that we're putting in the effort. Sorry for my home internet, folks. Hopefully we can get this fixed. And if I could get faster internet, I would totally pay for it. But unfortunately, only so much I can do. So let's go on to the next one. So let's actually start getting into this video creation process. All that stuff is pre-work. You got to do it. You got to think about it. But let's talk about the first thing where I start when I'm making videos. And that is simple. It's create a script or an outline. Now, if you're saying to yourself, I hate hearing about script and outline. The reason we keep talking about scripts and outlines is because we think they're so important. And yes, they take time. Yes, they can be difficult. Yes, they're work to do those up front. But if you do them up front, I have seen every time I create better, more concise, more focused content, more focused videos that allow me to better achieve my objectives and the viewer's outcomes. Simple, hands down, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Scripts and outlines are important because you're going to refine that work. Now, when we looked at that same data study that I mentioned about relevancy before, if you look at, there's a question in there about how long should a video be? Like, what's a preferred length of video? And of course, you get lots of really short stuff, 1-2 minutes. But what's interesting is you see like lots of 5 to 6, 7 to 9 people that prefer the longer videos. And I've been thinking a lot about that over the years. And I think it's because I would much rather watch a longer video that gives me the information I need than someone that gives me 1 minute and doesn't answer my questions. The longer the video, let me restate that because I don't want to say the longer the video. When you have a video that is the right length, you will have met the objective by getting them understanding of what they need to understand. You'll help them to achieve the thing that they need to achieve. And you're going to be able to provide them with clear guidance. Now, if that means you can do that in 3 minutes, do it in 3 minutes. If you need 7 minutes, do it in 7 minutes. Now, if you start getting 15, 20, 25 minutes, really think about that. Like, could it be broken up? Are you trying to take too many things and put it into one? But I find scripts are going to help you. And if you, gosh darn it, if you can't be bothered to write a script, create an outline. Create one that's going to allow you to at least have the key points. For instance, this PowerPoint presentation is in essence my outline. So something to definitely think about is do the work. It really will make you better. The next up is not an always thing, but I really do want to talk about storyboards for a second because storyboards are really important, especially if you're doing a more complicated video where you've got maybe multiple angles, you've got multiple people. Maybe you're doing much more of a story than just an instructional screencast, but even then, in a good screencast, it can help you know every single step. Now, if you are familiar at all with Pixar, obviously, beautiful, fantastic videos, right? They make movies that are long. It takes them like 5 years to make their videos. They obviously use scripts. They also use a lot of storyboards. And why do they use storyboards? Well, they need to know what the artist is going to create. But one of the things they use it for, and I think this is really important, is they use those storyboards and pitch meetings. Basically, before they're rendering anything on the computer, they're actually making these storyboards to help them to refine their story. They're also using that as part of the approval process. So if someone is watching like the storyboard, they can get a sense of what it's going to feel like, what it might look like. And that's a really great way. So if you're working in an environment where there's, regulatory and they've got to have a lot of sign off, your stakeholders got to approve before, it's better to make decisions in the storyboard phase when you haven't spent time filming or recording anything than to have go show them I'm an almost final product. And then they're like, no, you can't show these 3 things, or we don't like the way this looks, or we don't like the way you put the story together. It's much, much better to have the storyboard. So I definitely take a look at the storyboard, use it. You don't have to be a great artist to do this. It's something that you could definitely do when you're looking at things. help you tell you the story that you want. I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Sorry, I missed it. We'll watch a rerun. How fast is your internet? Richard, I get about 32 up and about 2 to 6 down, so it's not terrible. Especially if you don't know the content well exactly on script stuff. So storyboards again. A couple things here. If you look at this image, you'll see a couple things. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Hopefully you can, but you can see I've not only got pictures of what's going to be shown, but I'm also giving instructions in there as well. So for instance, I've got medium wide, close up. Good storyboard is going to allow you not only to see what's kind of going to look like, but also to set up to make sure you know exactly what you're going to capture. So if you know you're going to need a medium shot or a close-up of someone or an over-the-shoulder, or you want to get up here in this corner, it looks like there's maybe some kind of script document, you're going to want to grab that and put that into the story. So that way, when you're making your video, when you're shooting your video, whether it's with a camera or even in a screen recording, you can then make sure you have the pieces that you need to tell the story or to give the message that you want. So let's move on a little bit here. Shot list. This is one I don't necessarily recommend for everybody. Unlike scripts, which is a must, storyboards are a lot of the times, if not most of the time. Shot lists are something I reserve for my most complicated video creation. Shot list is basically taking the script to storyboard and laying out every single shot that I need. A lot of times, screen recording, I don't need that. When I'm doing, when we shot some stuff in the TechSmith Academy that was much more story-driven, we did some of this because, we knew we needed all these pieces, and we wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything. The great thing about a shot list, and if you go to TechSmith Academy, we've got a tutorial about this. There's actually a really great template that works in Excel or Google Docs that will help you set these up. But that way, you're going to make sure, let's say you're in a location, and you've got all these shots to do. The worst thing you can have happen is you leave. I don't know if it's the worst thing, but it's pretty bad. You leave and you realize you didn't get a shot that you needed. Shot lists will help you make sure you capture all that information. I need this shot as a close-up, a wide, and I need an over-the-shoulder. That way you get exactly what you need. So just another tool in your tool belt. Hopefully it's helpful. One that if you're doing less screencast work, you might not need. If you're doing camera work, you should definitely consider. You might want to check with your HR department if you're doing some internal videos, but make sure you have a release to use whoever you're working with, right? If you've hired an actor, you want a release to make sure you can use their likeness, their image. I don't have all the details on this. I'd have to dig up the form. I haven't used it in a while. But even if you're working with internal talent, you may want to make sure that it's okay, because here's a situation that's happened, right? You get someone, they're really good on camera, you get them in a video or two, maybe it's just for internal purposes, but then they leave the company. Then what? Do you feel comfortable still using them? You want to make sure that you have a good release that's going to allow you protection that way. So that way, just permissions, right? It's just, hey, we get to use this. Here's circumstances when maybe they can say you can't use it. Whatever it is that you need. For the most part, I'd say get a release that allows you to do kind of whatever you need to with that video. So that way, if someone leaves the organization, something happens, you're covered. Again, not a screen recording one, but if you're making a camera video, one of the things I really like to do is, and this is part of that preparation as you're writing a script, creating a storyboard, is go find the places you're going to shoot. Now, big budget movies do this all the time. They actually hire professional scouters who go find homes and locations that are going to look really good on camera. For me, one of the things that I do is I don't think about it, right? I don't think about big outdoor things. I think about where in my office or in my company's building can we do this. So we want to think about these things and say hey, I know this space is going to have really good light. It's got the look that we want. And you just want to plan that out. One things I look for in particular, because we do a lot of shooting in our office, we're looking for space. Is there enough room for the camera? Is there enough, are there going to be too many distractions? How many people are going to have to disrupt or displace to get this done? So those are things that you want to consider, but find your locations in advance, make a note of it in your storyboard, make note of it wherever you might be, so that way you can ensure you're going to have the look and feel that you want. Now, if you don't have the location that you need or want, what I'd recommend is that look in your local community. Is there another business that you could partner with? Maybe you can offer them a little bit of money pretty cheaply to go and use their space. We did this one time. I'm in Michigan, and in Lansing, Michigan, there's this place called Old Town. It's got some cool shops. It's got a it's got a fun aesthetic, a cool aesthetic. And we went and we talked to a couple of business owners, and we got to shoot in their businesses. And it looked really good. And it was really fun to be able to do that. And we didn't disrupt too much because we went in like an hour before they opened, got our shots done, and left. And then I think they let us use it for free, but then I think we bought some gift cards or made sure we were contributing back to the business as well. So, locations are cool. Make sure you think about them. Be aware of what you need to. Next up is, it might feel like it's early in the process, but make sure along this process you're getting feedback. Scripts, storyboards. If you have a shot list, do that. Locations. Get your feedback early because, again, it is so much easier and cheaper to make changes at this point. Before you've ever pulled out a camera or started the screen recorder, it is easier to make changes. Like, you can change the words to infinity, but if you have to change something in a video, that means re-recording probably. There's some editing, some cover you can do, but get that feedback, be open to it. I know it can be hard. It's not always fun to get feedback, but I definitely recommend it because I think it's valuable to do. Get that, ask for opinions. Go to your stakeholders. I would much rather a stakeholder tell me no at this point than it is when I'm really in love with the project that I've built in video and I've taken time to craft something of care. So it probably seems pretty obvious, but I think it's really important. Next up, if you've got all that stuff done, you've got your script, you got your storyboard, it's time to gather whatever gear. Now, this is obviously an image of if you were out on a physical shoot, but even with screencasts and video recordings that you're doing, on your screen, or maybe it's just in your office, whatever you need, including files, assets, start gathering all that stuff now. So if you're making a screencast and you've got maybe some slides, get the slides ready to go. That way, when it comes time to create the video, you're not thinking about it. You've just got what you need. With gear, you want to make sure you've got everything you need when you go out on your shoot. You got your batteries charged, you got your tripods, you got all those pieces, because what you don't want to do, and trust me, it takes a lot of time. You don't want to be spending time looking for things or oh no, we forgot, I got to run back to the office. Gather that stuff together. Get it ready, even the night before, and that way you're just ready to go. So in the morning, whenever you're starting, boom. Same with files. Again, I want to go back to screencasting because I think a lot of our audience does screencasting. I try to get lower thirds, images, all my stock stuff together that I'm going to put in there. If it's just ready to go, I put it in a folder. Actually, in a couple weeks, Andy Owen from TechSmith, he's one of our video producers. He's going to be on. We're going to be talking about file management, which sounds so boring, but it's not, because it's super important. But we have a file structure that we follow. You're going to use that, right? That way, again, you're just making your time go faster. The other thing I'll say with gathering gear is if you're going to make a lot of the same type of videos, let's say you're making a series of, let's say it's a 6-part series, and they're in sequence, and they're basically kind of the same, just maybe covering different aspects of a tool or whatever you're talking about. In Camtasia now, you can create a template, and you could create a template that you could use for each one of those. And that might sound like, oh, it's only 6 videos, but not having to think about the intros, the outros, and some of those other decisions, just by having that template ready to go, definitely, again, build it once, reuse it. You're going to speed things up dramatically for yourself, which leads to happier end stakeholders. Now that you got your gear, if you're ready for lighting, we've got another course in the TechSmith Academy that goes way more in depth. I actually just rewatched it and was happy with that. It still stands up. It's still good information. As you're thinking about lighting, first with screencasts, if you're using a webcam, I'm in a basement. It's a little bit dark. It's definitely dark if I don't have lights here, but I've got 2 can lights. They're just metal lights. I bought it at hardware, and I'm not gonna try to show around, but you can see, depending on the side, I've got the lights are coming down, right? They're hopefully making me look a little bit even. You can see, because I got my comics in the background with the glass, it's getting a little reflection. It's not terrible. It's not the best, but it's not terrible. You want to have light to some degree, whether that's a window. But if you're going to use a window, if let's say I'm looking at my camera and this is my webcam, you want it behind. The window should be coming into your face. Now, you might have to adjust it because it might be too bright. You might have to pull some shades and dim it a little bit, but you want the light coming in on your face. You don't want the light behind you in terms of a window, because it's going to wash out. The cameras love light, and it's going to just like, you're going to look dark. The window's going to be bright. Now, it is okay to have a light sometimes shining back on your top of your head. That's called a backlight. Nice if you can do that with your webcam, that's great. If you're doing more professional camera shoot, again, you're going to want to add some lights. If you're outside, that's great. That can look really good. You'll notice, like, if you go out to YouTube and you watch things like, let's see, what the little cameras, GoPros. If you watch like GoPro videos, they look really good. A lot of times it's because they're outside and they got a lot of light. They're also doing some color correction, some other things to make it look good, but you're going to want to add some light if you're doing any kind of camera work. Now, if it's just a plain screen recording, no camera, you don't have to worry about it. You're capturing the screen. But definitely think about how you can add a little bit of light. Like I said, I just got 2 can lights. These are like $10-15 at like your local hardware store. I'm probably thinking about getting a third one so I can do a little bit of backlight, maybe some other kind of cool lighting stuff. But you'll notice the other thing I've done with light is over here, you can see the string lights. And that just gives a little bit more kind of feeling to the room, gives a little bit more ambiance in terms of the video. Looks good on camera. So definitely play with your lighting depending on, with whatever you're doing. Audio is such a big one. I think there's probably room here in the future. We'll do another audio episode just talking about microphone placement, maybe a little bit more, we'll keep it basic, but maybe a little bit more in depth. Audio is one of the things that I feel like one of the reasons people stop watching video is because the audio is bad. And it's hard to know if your audio is bad unless you're listening to a lot of audio, like you're listening to it and know, like, does this sound bad? Like, I don't know what I sound like right now. I've tweaked my system, so hopefully it sounds good. But audio, screen recordings, do not use the built-in microphone on your laptop. It's so tempting because it's there. It's like, well, I don't have to spend any money. Do get some type of microphone. You do not have to get the almost ubiquitous Blue Yeti. I like it. I think it's a good mic. There's lots of options out there. Some cheaper. The Blue has another, the Snowball that I've got does a decent job. Audio-Technica, Rode, Sennheiser. I mean, you can spend so much money on audio. But what you want is something that's going to work for your needs. But have a microphone. So in this case, because I'm going hands-free, a desktop mic, I'm close, it's fine. If I was doing standing up and away, I might want a lapel microphone. Now, lapel microphone, the challenge is it doesn't work well with a t-shirt, but that's okay. But lapel mics are good. You want one that's going to work with your device. You could get shotgun microphones that you could have up off screen. Let me just transition to this other view. Like the shotgun mic could be up here. In fact, I'm going to pull out, just for an example here. Forgive me for a second as I rummage through all my stuff. Shotgun mic. This was like $100. It's a small one. It is XLR, which means it's got this kind of connector, so it's not USB. So I did have to purchase for myself just a little mixer. It's just got a 1 input, so it's not really complicated. But the shotgun mic can sit kind of up like this out of the camera's view. So if it's like here and I'm just moving up out of the view, and then it pointing right at me, kind of in this range here, and it should work pretty well. I actually like this mic a lot. I was with digital stuff. I have been getting a few kind of interferency things, so got to work that out yet. But you want good audio. If you're using cameras, you might record audio separately to a digital device, and then have to sync the audio later. We've got a tutorial on that also in the TechSmith Academy. But spend some time getting your audio, and there's the microphone piece of it, then there's the environment piece of it. Like, I'm in a basement, it's got carpet down here, so that actually helps with some of the sound. I'm not getting a lot of bouncing around, but if you've got a lot of hard surfaces, you might need to put some soft things up. If you're getting a lot of noise, you're gonna have to eliminate some of that noise if you can. So for instance, I'm in a house and I've got my family, and my kids know, and my wife helps me with this, that between 11 and 12, when I'm streaming here on Facebook or YouTube, they're quiet. They're not running around because you can hear everything, every step upstairs, the boards creaking, things like that. So pay attention to your audio. You want it to be good. You want it to, because otherwise people aren't going to listen. It's well worth the investment. It's probably where I would start. If I had to buy any gear, I'd invest in audio. Next, in this process, you're ready to shoot. Now, whether you're using a cell phone, or you're using a DSLR, or you're using whatever you got, your webcam, think about how you're going to go about shooting it. Think about alignment. Think about positioning. One of the things I struggle with, to be honest, here when I've got two cameras going, I've got a screen here, I've got the controls here. You probably see me look away sometimes, which isn't necessarily the best. But like here I can see a little bit better because I can see my controls. I got my other monitor in view. But you want to think about where's placement. And in fact, one of the things I did before going live today is I checked out like, okay, where I'm on the third, I've got a little bit of headroom, but not too much. I could pop out if I wanted to. You just want to think about what's going to frame your person to look best. Do you want them close up? Do you want them far away? What is it that you want your video to look like? And then use your camera, like move your camera or move your person to get to the right size. Hey, I see a comment there from Craig. Hey, Craig, long time no see. The mic probably cuts out a lot of background noise. Yeah, sure. A good microphone definitely does that. Real quick, because I stopped for a question, I just want to remind you that if you've got a question, put them in the comments. I'll answer questions best I can. If you got something, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, I see, we just, had Eyelash Media join. Good afternoon. Welcome. We're all glad you're here with us. Also, I'll just say, just as a quick kind of interlude here, if you haven't checked out the new Camtasia, it's pretty nice. Got some really great new features that I love. We've also got a new product that we launched called Audiate. Record your audio, transcribes it in real time, and it makes removing ums and ahs, which I'm guilty of, as easy as just seeing a little icon that's in the transcript and clicking it, and it does all this cool editing stuff to remove it. So definitely check those out. But with that said, let's get back to things, right? So yeah, I think shooting, definitely go, like, this is an art. If you're not happy with the way things look, do a couple takes. Make sure you gather everything that you need as you shoot all the footage. We've talked about that already, but this is kind of when the rubber hits the road. There's a lot to say here about shooting. We're not going to go cover all of that today, but it's an important piece. Included in this screen recording, right? The next thing is, as you're shooting, be thinking about B-roll. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what you're seeing on screen. This is an older version Camtasia when I made this project. This is Lisa Louise Cook. She does a lot with genealogy. She's a really fantastic person. I had the privilege of going to her home to record her for an interview that we did because she was using Camtasia. We were doing a small customer story. And we did a great interview. We did actually a 2-camera shoot. You can see one of the camera views here down in track 2. But what you'll see is I've got places where I've definitely made some cuts. Now, these are stitched together. It was for convenience of teaching. But, what's before that cut and after that cut are very different. And it's not going to look as good if it just does a jump cut. Jump cuts are okay in certain circumstances. In this case, we didn't want to do it. So one of the things I did after I interviewed Lisa is I walked around her house with her, and we filmed various pieces of her home, like her working on a computer, recording her podcast. I recorded this particular image up here. She had a wall going up her stairs of all these folks from her family. So some of them from a long time ago, some more recent. And what we did is I was taking those small clips and using them as part of telling the story. And so that's this B-roll, right? I got the main footage as A-roll, these supplemental pieces to show that maybe she's talking about something and she mentions her grandma and how her grandma was a nurse, right? I can show that piece. And so what you want to do is capture B-roll that's going to help you to tell your story and help cover up some of your edits, some of your cuts. If you got 2 pieces, like let's say you take 2 takes saying the same thing, but the first one's really good up to a point that it makes your speaker makes a mistake. But the second time they did it, the second half was great, and you just want to bring those together, you can use B-roll to make that work. And there's other things you can do, but B-roll is really important to help you cover up and give you flexibility, but really to help you tell the things and share the things visually that you want to share, like to make it more compelling, more interesting to watch. With screen recording, you can have similar idea, right? Like maybe you're talking about a process and then you mentioned steps. Maybe you show those steps on screen, or maybe you cut to an infographic, or you do other things to help your editing move along, help move the message forward. So once you've got all your stuff shot, you've got your B-roll together, you've got your audio recorded, it's time to bring it all together. So the way I like to work here is, and without going into a full Camtasia tutorial, I like to bring in my audio, because I always usually record my audio first, especially with screen recordings. And then I bring in my main footage. And what I'm doing is I'm not worried about making it look really good yet. I'm just getting rid of all the stuff I don't want. So I'm getting I'm just cutting it down to the main pieces. If it's screen recording, I might actually be recording to those main pieces more so, trying to get a little bit more specific. But I'm cutting out the stuff that I don't need and don't want, because I know I can always get back to it if I need it for some reason. So basically trying to tell that story with kind of clarity first. And then what we're going to do, once we do all that trimming, we're going to add stuff. So for instance, like let's say I've got something like this. This is just going to example of this kind of, if I make a mistake, you can see there's no audio for this, so don't worry. I don't think you should be hearing any audio. I got this clip where I'm going through, and I think I make a mistake here, and then this is how I edit it together. And maybe it's not as powerful without the audio, but you can see what I do here. It jumps. It's been a while since I watched this video. So what I can do is I just can cut it, or I can add a second camera if you can see how this can work. So now, same stuff, I just cut to a different take actually. So there's ways you can cover stuff up if you're making those mistakes, but get that main footage in camera 1, camera 2. Then you can start adding effects like lower thirds. This is just a lower third I'd made a while back. Don't use it anymore because it's out of date in terms of brand colors and stuff like that. But I would get my main editing done and then start adding these other things: lower thirds, animations, behaviors, callouts, text, anything that's going to add to the video that's not the main thing. It's probably, I'd even add B-roll before I do this, just to make sure I'm getting clarity in the video, and then add the enhancements. So I do see a quick question here. We'll take a quick question break. Again, because I like answering you guys' questions as you come through. Can I make simple cartoon animation or simple film cartoon in Camtasia? Now, if you mean cartoons, like as in you're going to have animation like a character that moves, it doesn't have a character animator. The principles of animation is that you've got an image, and the image changes frame by frame. So that way it looks like it's moving. If you drew your animation character in another program, each kind of frame what you wanted it to do, frame by frame, you could probably do that. It would be a lot of work though. If you're looking for an animator, there are other tools that will help you to animate simple cartoon characters that are pre-made. I don't want to speak to which one would be the best because I don't know, but I do think that there are probably better options. Now, what you can do, if you have a character, you just want to move it around, you don't want to like make them wave or anything, you don't want individual portions moving. Camtasia can definitely do like move across the screen, or move up and down, or fade in, fade out, things like that. I hope that answers your question. It's a good, interesting question. Yeah, so keep throwing it at me. We'll keep going. So let's go back. So we talked a little bit about lower thirds. Now, one of the things I'll do towards the end is what I call mastering my audio, right? Like we should have had our audio in there. It should be all matched up. But at this point, what you want to do is make sure you've removed background noise. You've got if you're adding things like music, or you're doing fading in and out, removing ums and ahs, you'll want to do that. Removing anything I actually do earlier, just because it gets dicey once your video's lined up and ready to go, you want your audio to be pretty fixed and set. But this is where if you're going to do any kind of sweetening to it, it's probably a good step in the process. As I mentioned, you could add music. Now, if you're doing learning and development stuff, let's have a conversation, because I think learning and development stuff, there's a special kind of thoughts I have about this. Is if you're making video for learning purposes, I try to dissuade people from using music too much. I like music. I think it can be really good. It can make videos more interesting, can give you a beat to cut to, but when you're learning something, if I have to listen to your audio, what's being said, and I have to listen to music, and if they compete too much, my brain's saying, what am I listening to? Am I listening to the music, or am I listening to the speaking? If you watch movies with a really good score, you'll notice the score. You probably watch the movie, not really notice the score. It's there to amplify and enhance and intensify. So definitely think about that and what it might mean to add music to your video. And if you do add music, bring it down. You don't want people struggling to say, is there music there? You want them to be able to hear it, but it's not taken away from what's being said. So a question comes in about going back to sound and mastering. Light is faster than sound. Can you tell me a simple technique in synchronizing audio and shooting? Sure. If you've ever seen what they call a clapperboard, it's a board. It's got a black and white line on it. Usually they go bunk. The reason they record that at the beginning of a film or shoot is because, one, you've got a visual, but two, you've got a sound, and it makes a spike on the sound. So what I do, if I'm recording audio separately, I just do, like in front of the camera, I'll do a clap. And you'll see that spike in the waveform, and you'll see me do it, and then you can match that up on your timeline. And then it's just a matter of syncing the wave down, the audio, with the video. So I think that's the easiest way that I've found. On the TechSmith Academy, you can go, we've got a video about syncing up audio and video and how to do that. So check it out. Ed says, hey, Matt, the music bed, I'd like to add it at about 2%. That way it helps to cover up any breaths. I mean, that's a great tip, right? Like if you've got especially breathy, like I do it all the time. It's just you're breathing and you're not thinking about it. And when you're not talking, you get those, the breath in, you can use music to cover it up a little bit. That's a good idea. As long as it's not distracting and taking away from what's being said from a learning perspective. Now, if you're doing marketing or entertainment, music is a whole different ball game on how you play with the volume up and down. You want it to pull in those emotions. From a learning perspective, though, you just want to make sure it's not competing too much. You got that, what's the cognitive load is the word I'm looking for. You overwhelm the brain and it causes problems. So good tip. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate that. Once your video is in good position where it's, maybe you're still making a few small tweaks, but when timing is done, you should start adding captions. If your script is set, you're not going to change anything that's being said, the audio's good, you should really consider adding captions to all your videos. It's more work than maybe some people want to do, but it's really important. A couple of reasons. One, if you're making a video, you need to think about accessibility. Who in your audience is going to watch this? Where can they watch it? And are they capable of watching and hearing? So if you have, maybe there's audience members who are deaf or hard of hearing, and the captions come in handy. I know I'm at the point now, I watch TV at home and I turn on the captions. The reason I turn on the captions is because sometimes I got kids talking, I got background noise, cars going, motorcycle. In summer, we have so many motorcycles going by, but also it just helps me to make sure I don't miss anything. So even though I'm not deaf or hard of hearing, I find captions to be very useful. But you might also, aside from all that, you might just have an audience member who maybe they work in an environment in a manufacturing area and they don't have a good way to listen to it. Or maybe it's a noisy shop floor or something like that. But captions are really valuable. You can manually caption. If you wrote your script, there's really great ways to bring them in and to add the caption timing, or you can pay to have someone else do the transcript and captioning. $1.25, a couple dollars per minute is kind of a going rate right now that I've seen. And more we're seeing things like TechSmith Audiate, right? Where if you are recording like you can record the audio. Even if you record the audio, you just bring it in, it will transcribe it, and then you can export the SRT file, which is the file that you need for captioning. And captioning, you can put that on YouTube, you can put it on Facebook as a way to caption. You've got captions for screencast.com. There's lots of ways that you can get captions in there. It's really an important piece of things to consider. Okay, once your video is polished, you've got all your little assets, everything's kind of looking good, you're feeling good about it. Your video in most tools, whether it's Camtasia, Adobe Premiere, Vegas, whatever, you still have to go through the render process. Sometimes we call it production, but you need to render your video out so that it gets in a shareable format. To an standard is MP4. Soft one, just so you know, I work from home and my internet's not always the best, so I apologize if it's a little laggy, but we make do with what we've got. So anyways, production, you need it as an MP4 file. That's going to be what you upload to YouTube. That's going to be what you upload to Vimeo, to Wistia, to Brightcove, to Vidyard, wherever you're hosting your video. And it's something you need to think about is where you're going to host it, but you need to produce your file, and that's going to give you a version that you can share. I recommend of all the production stuff, don't share it via email, usually. Email does not love large video files. That leads us to this distribution question. And really, you might want to even think about this way, way, way earlier. Where are you going to put your video? Because there might be different requirements based on where you're going to go. Like if you're going to upload to YouTube, that's pretty standard, file sizes in terms of 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720. But if you're going to an LMS, does that support? What size does it support? Maybe you're making a 1920 by 1080, which is HD, high resolution HD, or maybe even maybe you're making a 4K video. But does your LMS, learning management system, support that? Or if you're going to post it on a web page, think about that distribution, and then what are the requirements on Twitter versus Facebook versus LinkedIn if you're doing like a social media post? So definitely think about your distribution. Make some decisions early on about that. You should really know that in your planning phase. But now that you've created your video, once you've rendered it out, it's ready to share. So, cool. All right. Resources, again, I'll just mention TechSmith Academy has got tons and tons and tons of free content. One thing I'll say that if you're looking to get better on camera or you're looking for advice and getting started, we got tutorials about that. We got tutorials about making your first video. Look, I love the TechSmith Academy. I love that we're creating this stuff and it's all free, guys. So that's why I'm here pitching it all the time. So do go check it out. Do me a favor. All right. So I think unless there's other questions, I'll hang out here for a couple minutes. But basically, we're going to open the time up for questions. Apologize that the quality of the video is a little bit struggling here. For the most part, I think it's been halfway decent today. But I appreciate everybody that's tuned in. One thing I do want to announce, if you are on Facebook today watching this, we've been doing Facebook Live on Tuesdays at 11. That is going to go away. We're going to stop doing Tuesdays at 11. This is our normal kind of Facebook time. We are moving to Thursdays at 2 p.m., which is when we do normally our YouTube Live. Today was a bonus day. We're testing out the streaming technologies to go to both. But the reason we're doing that is because, one, we want to bring on more guests and have better conversations. It also, just from a sake, we were duplicating content. We were creating it for YouTube, then redoing it for Facebook. We feel like that's not really the best use of anyone's time, so we can do it basically at one time, like we're doing today, which will allow you to get the benefit of that content, those guests, and it saves me some time. I can spend more time preparing, more time getting things ready, more time doing my other work, but still, you're going to get the benefit of the live stream. One of the things we also just mentioned, the technology that we're using doesn't allow me to create a scheduled post, so it's just going to be on facebook.com/techsmith/live is where you're going to find it. But around 2 o'clock on Thursdays, we'll be live on Facebook. Same YouTube, nothing's changed there. And occasionally we might do some other things. I know I think it's June 30th, we have a super special guest. I'll announce that probably on Thursday or next week. Super excited for it. I will also say on Thursday, our first time going live on Facebook on Thursday, but normal for YouTube, we've got Cindy Lucas. She's going to be joining me. Cindy is a small business owner. She creates a lot of training development. She's offering a Camtasia class coming up on June 25th. But we're going to be talking about her running a business, creating training, making video. So some practical advice if you ever kind of wondered about what that world is like, get some tips from her that she gives about using Camtasia, using video. You're going to want to join in. So Eastern time, Ed, yes, Eastern time is correct. I'm just going to type this in here because the stream is always a little bit slower. So 2 p.m. Eastern time, so that's 11 a.m. Pacific time. I think that's 5 or 6 p.m. British Standard Time. Time zones, we can hopefully figure it out. We'll just Google it and put it in there. So, all right. Well, we'll just keep asking, see if wait for another minute if there's any other questions. And if not, we'll let you guys all go and get back to your Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'll give it just another second. But yeah, definitely check out the Academy. Let's see what else is going on. Check out the other products for TechSmith. Happy we can be. Thank you all for being here. Ed and Craig was here, and Jolyn. Hopefully you get this recording. Richard and the rest of you, Safwan, and we got Eyelash. It's a clever username. So yeah. I think that's about it. So with that said, thanks everybody for watching. My encouragement to you is don't just sit there, don't just take in the information, but go and make something. Do it today, because that's the only way you'll get better. And take that time, and if you just take every day and get a little bit better, that's honestly the best way you're going to level up your video, your image, kind of all your skills. So thanks everybody. We will talk to you next time.